Whoops. Hey, how's it going? Whoa. Okay. I hope that's good. Jeez. Oh, but of course it's not. Oh, you know what? Can you see my signs? Please look at my signs. Actually, there is something that I wanted to point out on there that I did want to talk about. So, of course, I'm going to point to the wrong spot because it's going to be backwards, but, oh my gosh. Right? Come on, you can do it. Right there. There. My hand is trying to point to the orange writing under the umbrella, which I am going to now move closer to so you can see it. It says, allow yourself and everyone else. You see that? Allow, under the umbrella, it says allow, and then after the W, in the orange writing, it says yourself and everyone else. So, that will become important presently. Just, I guess, pin it for the moment. So, what I wanted to talk about today, I did pull some cards, just a few. But what I wanted to talk about today was the fact that, well, a lot of things, but like, mainly, Mercury just went into retrograde for the month of December, and that at one time would have been like a big scary deal, I guess, because I didn't really understand what was happening with a retrograde. Oh my. Or how to set this up. That is not the angle I want, but oh my gosh. Please just be in the way I want you to be for a moment. It won't be long. You have nowhere to be, and I just dropped my cards. Oh, hold on while I recover those for that one. Excuse me. Something escaped. Oh, there it is. BRB. Damn it, now I was cold, but now I'm all bundled up and whatever. The draft will come back. Always does. Okay, so Mercury in retrograde used to be like a scary thought because, like I said, I didn't understand what was happening with it. But now, this is my perception that when it happens, it's an opportunity, and it's helped by the astrology when Mercury's in retrograde to, again, like pull up stuff that's been stuck, like that you deferred attention to, like you just kind of boxed it off and brushed it under the rug kind of situation. And so you can't really like just leave that stuff. It's like they say in the metaphysical community about the ego. It's like it can do things to both help protect you and then also sometimes put you in stupid situations, like make you not be able to make the best decisions, just cloud your judgment in ways that are generally harmful to you and probably people you're around or associated with. And that's for a reason. Things happen that way for a reason. Yeah, that old saw. But the reason in the case that I'm trying to talk about here is it's an opportunity to see what can be learned from what just happened, or what happened a while ago that you didn't want to deal with before. And I think it's the latter case in Mercury that gets you to that place where you're like, oh my God, this is totally scary. Because you were not wanting to deal with whatever it was that shoved down, and we're like, la 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 la, I'm gonna start distracting myself with other things over here, or I don't hear you, I don't see you, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just, or maybe you don't even, it's something that our minds, boy, we think the outside world is playing tricks on us, that our minds can really do a number on us. Like, we'll just tuck something away, and we could, like, lose time on the matter. We could forget that it even happened. We could forget the details of it, like people's names. Like, we could edit the you-know-what out of oh God, gross. Edit the you-know-what out of our memories. And generally, guess who does that? Guess what does that? The ego. That's that protection part. What we can't stand to face and will hurt us in some way, which will, I guess, also hurt our fragile egos. I don't know, I never really thought about that too hard, but it is the ego that will get you in a place where you'll say something like very overblown about your own character, for instance, and it would come off looking kind of ridiculous or arrogant, because people might detect by your behavior, even having said that you have this great quality about yourself and everyone should love it and appreciate it, or at the very least notice it extensively, like a lot, like really pay attention. You know what I'm saying? But not realize that from the outside it is not coming off the way you were trying to present the situation. Like, people will just smell something bad and be like, well, I don't think you're that great at that. In fact, you might even get a little help with that, like someone saying, well, no, you have that all wrong. Like, you think it looks like this, and that is not what it looks like. And that helps me, for instance. It reminds me that it is very hard to sort of look at yourself honestly and critique, describe, your perception of what you're projecting on the outside. And I'm speaking from my own base of experience here, and I'm also just kind of speculating, because, like I said, I've not really thought about this much at all. Certainly not in this way, but you have the ego to protect you, and it's not going to tell you that what you're saying makes you look like a jackass to the people listening to you. And you might be saying, even to yourself, I am really good at this, I do this well, I am like someone you can confer with as an expert. And then that's you telling yourself a story that ain't really true, because what you do know to be the truth is you kind of suck at it and you're insecure about it, but you maybe have to do it, like, you have to do it in front of people and be at least competent at it. Like, I'm just, grabbing little ideas out of the air here, but I think that's the kind of thing that your ego, the kind of embroidering that will look nice to you on the inside, and then your ego is like there, like on all of your shoulders, like, don't do this and do that because you'll look and feel stupid, which is, I do would like protection from that. But you also would have the one going, woo, we're bad at this, we gotta look and feel better, so we just tell ourselves we are, and the truth that we are not just kind of goes away, maybe. And so that's why you'll be all tooting your own horn, and people will be all, no. I mean, that's just kind of how I think, like, the ego kind of works. There was another part to that, I think. What did I start off saying? Well, anyway, while that is going on, it does make it kind of, it, like, gives you an extra thing that you need to navigate when other serious stuff is going on, or like, maybe it's hard to, like, drag our attention away from, like, egoic concerns coming from your ego, while, like, you know, stuff might be hitting the fan on the outside, like, away from that, like some kind of Mercury in retrograde stuff. But so, like, here it comes for, I guess, the most, if not all, of the month of December. Mercury will be in retrograde, which, if you're not, like, you know, getting that, you know, it's the time to appreciate everything that happens for what you get out of it. And I don't mean like a financial profit or anything like that, but I mean, like, what, something you learn that that's gonna serve you for the rest of your life and help you navigate certain areas of it, and then help you be able to maybe share that knowledge with someone else that will come along at some point, you know. But the reason why, like, I feel like it's even kind of more so right now than usual Mercury stuff. Why am I salivating so much? I don't know. It's because of what's just been happening this whole past year. I mean, things keep happening that were completely unexpected, and then the ways to sort of deal with what was happening, or what was happening, what is happening, the ways we were dealing with it all along have not really been working too well, you know. And the drain the swamp thing is interesting because it actually does need to be done, something that needs to happen, because there's so much weird subterfuge and just, like, sneaky shit happening on the part of, like, the government and the moneyed interests that actually control it. Like, I don't even know what the like constituent population is even needed for, is in the form of the government we have now, because you gotta have money to get in there. If you don't have your own, then you gotta be somebody's, you know, you gotta get somebody to pimp you out, which means you gotta do what they want, which means whatever your motivations were for going in there are gonna be subverted, at least for a while. And so that is sort of a keeping out the riffraff kind of a situation, like with housing, with rentals, and even, like, trying to buy a house somewhere. There are certain forces that can be directed and sort of controlled to sort of deflect the type of traffic that is unwanted. You know, there's, like, security things that are done, and, like, just people with money have a lot of resources, and there's a lot of, like, handshakes and back scratching, I think, that happens, like a lot of sort of illicit exchanges and agreements. And we're being shown, I think, from a number of different angles, that people with a lot of money don't have a lot of people telling them no to stuff, and so they don't feel the need to behave as if there are constraints, because generally there's not. And I think it's great that, like, the new presidency has the president that it has, and then, you know, we, just in case we didn't get it, what was wrong with that the last time, we're gonna do it again as a refresher. I think there's new information to be added to the curriculum, but also there's the sort of spotlight that can now be shined on those very sort of behaviors that I was just talking about, where I have money to throw at everything, so I can do whatever I want. That is what we're gonna see with Trump. And I just heard somebody call Elon Musk. I did not come up with it, but I do think it's funny. Elonia. Because she's not around, and they're calling him the First Lady and the co-president. And I feel like there's a couple of reasons people are just going crazy with that. And one is, they know it's going to drive the president-elect nuts. And also, it's going to drive the president-elect nuts, and possibly Elon, too. There is a psychic that I like to watch. His name is Sterling, and his YouTube channel is called Sterling Psychic Medium. Real simple, easy to find. And he has said that, Musk is a genius and doesn't care about what people think about him. But if you look at him, neither of those things seem to be true. He I think in kind of the same way as Trump, I do think he's like got more going on upstairs, but I think they both are very cunning. Like, they get away with not actually having to know a whole lot about whatever they're dealing with, and yet they're very successful. But they both leave a lot of wreckage of businesses and people in their wake. Like, if you know all of the companies that Elon Musk has kind of burned through, and then there's always sort of press afterwards from the people he was associated with in the venture that are just kind of done with the guy and don't have great things. Not that I've been studying it, but what comes to mind immediately is that the people that are his former employees and close associates or friends or even exes, they don't really seem to have good things to say about the guy. And then to look at somebody else and make decisions about who and how they are is obviously a judgment, but it's also subjective, because I have a lot of eyebrows raised for a lot of things about both of those men. And on the other hand, a lot of people think they are just spiffy. They're the best. They're so good, they think they're great. Thing about subjective is you come to your point of view from a certain perspective, from a place, and there's always somebody that's going to be richer, older, taller, also fatter, shorter, poorer. There's always going to be somebody else that's going to see it different for reasons that are completely foreign to you, especially if you're not empathic and thinking about things in that way. So looking at someone else and what they're doing, I feel like we kind of just do it anyway because we're wired that way. But the way you do stuff matters. So I certainly am not looking to tear people apart. And it's interesting that before I started doing this, I came on 2 videos and they were totally affirmations for me personally, but they also touched upon stuff that I have been talking about and that I'm talking about right now, and that is that all of this is, I'm back to, this is happening for a reason. You know, I talk a lot about the birth contract thing, and for a while I was struggling with the idea that, like, I agree to come here and go through this stuff, and it is becoming more and more, the word flabbergasting is coming to mind. It just is like, events seem to be almost cartoonishly absurd, and I am having a better time aligning with the idea that I elected to come here and go through these things, because it also holds true with this idea that this is not how things are normally, and like, this is novel stuff, you know. Even if, you know, I've had many lifetimes here kind of on the same path but differently, different body, different family, different circumstances, still here, same stuff that has to be dealt with on the cosmic levels of the cosmic scale, like the pretty much ascension of the galaxy. Like, that's just been like an ongoing thing for lifetimes of, like, all of us. And so I guess it's just getting a little bit easier to swallow that, okay, yeah, I guess I do see, like, it's not just that it's for fun. There's also, like, a purpose. There's a divine purpose for it. And so I'm less appalled by what's going on. And then also there's the idea that, you know, everything is a co-creation. It's still talking about that, but, you know, there's always an agreement amongst every involved party to play the part that they have agreed to play. Like, and it's not just for that, like, conversation that happens once between four people that, you know, two of them are strangers, and, you know, all kinds of momentous things happen in each of those people's lives that they can sort of remember the impetus of it, rooting back to, like, that in faithful conversation. So everything happens for a reason, and it's kind of, like, not as scary when you realize, like, hey, you know, I decided to do this, you know, like, it doesn't even have to be about fun. It's like the purpose alone is kind of enough, where I have to say, I could not have said that 10 years ago. I could have maybe said it 5 years ago, but the idea of, like, doing something sort of nebulous for a also nebulous kind of reason, because there's nothing I can just pull out and say this certifies it and this video makes it real, or, you know, it's like that faith thing. And it's also like how religion and spirituality work. There's a lot of believing to see things more so than the seeing them and making them real and believable. And that's kind of the point. I feel like it's more the point to believe in the reality of something without seeing it, because there are so many other, like, synchronicities and factors and history and events and information that kind of give structure and truth and reality to this thing that you can't see, that you just have to believe with your heart and soul that is real, because that's how it is. And maybe you wish for something or something to happen, or to have some object or event happen in your life, and you want it and you focus on it, and, you know, you make so many affirmations on it that what you seek begins to seek you. And so, and then, you know that it's, like, satisfying that you're here to be of service for this big thing, bigger than all of us, that was something I had to come to. Like, it didn't occur to me until I was like in my 50s to be like, I actually want to do something to the service of everyone and everything else. Like that, I was like, nah, I don't know that it was so much about selfishness as just sort of like, wasn't even thinking about that kind of thing. Airhead. But, it all makes kind of perfect sense now because, yeah, I'm sure I want to help. I want help. Why wouldn't I want to help other people? I feel like what goes around comes around makes sense to me, and things like that. So the fact that like it's Mercury retrograde, right? Well, actually, the Trump next presidency doesn't begin until January. But it's interesting that, again, in the way of it's so strange this year, it's like Biden was gonna be the nominee for president in the last election, and then I can't believe that people making a stink finally made a difference, like not just in the government, although that came later. And I guess all along behind the scenes there were a lot of people that were like as upset as the public, going, we need to get him out of there, he's not up to the job. And so I just want to interject and say that there is this Noah, what is that boy, that man's name from Africa? Trevor Noah has a comedy YouTube, and I haven't watched it, but the title card says, "We treated Joe Biden like shit." And every time I see it, it kind of stabs me in the heart and in the stomach a little bit, because I have been thinking that all along. Like, I have not had like great things to say about him over the years, but not like personal attacks about. My problem is like I didn't agree with his policies and I didn't want to vote for him, and I just didn't think he was the right guy for my taste. But I've heard way worse said about him and his family, and a lot of it I think is just not true. And you gotta have like a huge ego to even want to be president. But if you have one of those, everyone is not gonna love you just because you love yourself and have great confidence in yourself. Like I was just saying earlier, you might think you're pretty bitching, but the people looking on are going, meh, meh. So, what we have right now is an opportunity. Like, I guess it's like it's double down, like sink or swim. Because as we move forward as a collective, we have to like get rid of all like excessive baggage, like any extra weight, as if we were on a rocket ship or a sailing ship. There's only so much room for stuff. And we have to learn how to deal with less material things and start dealing with things that are more on a metaphysical level. So I'm going to go to the cards. If I wasn't clear, I feel like we have two situations that could be taken negatively if we're afraid of it, or we could take them as a challenge or an adventure, or just something we actually want to be doing, because there's something to be gotten out of it that is for not just our own personal advantage, but for everyone's advantage. And it would probably just feel good to do, just as an individual. So I pulled 3 cards from the Light Seers deck. It's a tarot deck. And the first card I pulled was Ace of Pentacles. And this picture that I'm looking at right here is just cracking me up, because shoot, what is the guy's name? I think his name is Jabez, and he's a black dude in Florida, and he is like a health guy and a gardener, and he talks about having lost 100 pounds for just switching things out of his diet. And I'm a fan of that. I have not been like doing that, but it's not about me right now. In Javez's video, he was in his garden, and what he often does is they'll throw away like vegetable scraps from meals into compost bins in his yard where his garden is, and that's usually where the videos take place. So they had eaten corn on the cob, and so when he throws the scraps into the bins, they start to regrow. And this, I guess, was an early one that I hadn't seen before. And he, like, in the video from today, he flashed back to it. Then the meal was corn on the cob. So they had corn on the cob, and then whatever, they threw the fully already boiled corn into the compost bins. And then however long later, not too long, because I guess his energy is so good, his stuff grows really fast. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, anyway, there's a sprout growing out of the compost thing, and he pulls it out to see what it is, and it is I don't know, like maybe they have kids or something, or maybe they just like it, or maybe they got frozen, but you'll find like frozen corn on the cob sometimes will come in slices of chunks of the cob that'll be like that tall, and then there'll be like, you know, like that could be a corn cob right there, and it's also yellow high like corn. But he pulled this thing out, and it was, he said like all of the kernels had been eaten off of this cob, and they grew back, and that's what the sprout was. It was like growing a corn plant. Isn't that mind-blowing? It was already cooked, and they had eaten, like, what, you know when you eat corn and then you bite off the kernels and then there'll be like those little yellow bits left in the bottom? I bet that's what grew. But he said that he threw purple sweet potato, like just a chunk from when his wife was cutting it, making a pie, and it was just part of the vegetable scrap, so it wasn't even an eye or a root or anything. It was just like probably a piece of the potato flesh, and that grew into, well, that grew into a whole garden, a whole garden. He had a giveaway. He gave away a bunch of them because he does giveaways of his stuff in his yard, and it's great. But I think he would be like, it would just be better to be local, and he's in Florida, and I'm on the complete opposite coast, so. He gives me a lot of joy, though, because one of the things he says is the more he grows, the more he knows that he can get a lot for free. Then that's why I'm talking about it, because so can we. So, seeds planted, you know, wow, I mean, it sounds like you can just, like, a plant will just regenerate off of pieces of itself forever, and that's amazing. It's also a quality that we humans are built to have, but our health and diet and environment and everything, we have not made it so that it's easy for us to do that anymore. We've pretty much not, and when I say we, I don't mean like I went out and decided to do that. I most certainly didn't. But there's a lot that sort of gets in the way of, obstructs us from our most healthy way of that we could be. So the next card was the Seven of Cups, and I almost feel like it's always like this, like we're always faced with a bunch of choices, and you know, even if you pull out, like, say, one of those baskets or whatever those things are, you have a winning lottery ticket that you pull out of there. I don't know if you know this, but people that win the lottery often have like a really bad time of it afterward, because people come out of the woodwork. They want your money, and also when you get a lot of money, I guess it's just a kind of a whole new learning curve and experience. So it could look like a really good thing at first, but and then later down the line you could come to regret that choice. So, and also, I mean, I've said this probably in the last couple of videos, like a lot of people on the YouTube that people that went ahead and voted for the R's are regretting their choice. They're regretting it with an R. Oh, I see what's wrong. My phone is turned the wrong direction. That's why everything looks backward to me. Okay, well, never mind. So, but as always, we're faced with choices, you know. So, my eye was just drawn to the way this water is coming from, I would assume, a freshwater place since it's land, heading out to what looks like the sea. And I say the sea because the sand looks like beach sand, ocean sand. And I have learned, since I am inland and have only been to lakes for a long time now, and I'm not happy about it, the sand does not look the same as ocean sand. In fact, I would not call it sand. It's more like gravel. You're pretty much sitting on pebbles. It might be smaller, but it's not ocean sand. Like, it's not silica. It's not. But I hope this helps me. So I have written a novel, right? And I was excerpting it onto my website, and then I write longhand, so I ended like in mid-sentence in the notebook and then couldn't find the continuation. And I have really been resisting rewriting it because I remember, I think, everything that went on in what I wrote for the most part, but I don't know if I referenced something in the part that I can't find later, so I don't want to like mismatch. Like, I can rewrite it, but I don't know what I may be missing. And so I've been trying not to let this upset me, because I was really on a roll and I had been putting off doing it for various reasons. But then when I finally started doing it, it actually solved a few problems that I had with it. So I was happy. And then now I got interrupted. But the thing about this picture is that in that part of the story that is missing right now, there is a part where there's a larger body of water, and then there's a stream that is fed from it on one end, and then on the other, from where it's fed to, it feeds back into the larger body of water. So I just thought, oh, that's so much like my story. Does that mean I'm going to find what I was looking for finally? Because I really like to get started on that again. So anyway, moving on. The reason why I am not as upset about a second Trump presidency is because the lessons we learned from the first one are, I think, like looking at the way the cabinet selection and transition team stuff is happening, it's already like fracturing the way it did after 4 years, and it was like not good. It was bad. I guess like people were not getting along. People were like deliberately actually sabotaging each other and leaking and just doing sort of really backbitey, backstabby things. And when you do that, like, your chances of achieving success are hampered kind of at every step. And so while they were certainly destructive in certain ways to the whole country, they mainly turned out to be destructive to themselves, and in a way that is hard to take, hard to understand when it seems like they're succeeding and they're not getting into any trouble. But I refer back to what I said earlier. Perhaps some unfinished business still needs to take place, and these are the conditions that need to be there in order for whatever needs to take place to succeed. So that is going to require from the rest of us a lot of cooperation. And here's the thing. The government, while it affects you so much, whether you're paying attention to politics or not, what's been happening, I think, is bringing more people that were that way, that didn't pay attention. It's bringing their attention to it. And then some people that, felt vindicated in this outcome where Trump won, I think that they may not be regretting their vote, but they may be finding that what they got is not everything that they thought it was going to be. And it's not even started yet. And I started to say this at the beginning. Sorry, I have like a burp trying to come up. But I started to say that he doesn't get elected till the 20th. So yeah, I did start to say it. But what's happening is people are acting as if he already is the president. So, that's what I was saying. So Biden was the president, was going to be the nominee, and then things happened and he wasn't. And he got rudely shoved aside. Like, as Trevor Noah said, we kind of treated him like doo-doo. And then it was Kamala, and it was a big party, and then people began to get more hopeful and optimistic, and then even Trump was starting to look defeated. I actually said that on more than one occasion about that's what it appeared to be. And you know how I've said things are not the way they appear, so it appeared that she won the popular vote, and the the community college, whatever, the slave college state riggery vote thing. And then all of a sudden, no. And I said at the beginning, like the next day, which hasn't happened, I don't think in my lifetime, after a presidential election, where the commentators are all, candidates such and such won. Like, usually there's a lot of stuff to be counted. And so it turns out today, well, like, what is the date? The 25th, I think, of November 2024. There are still votes in the presidential election part that are being counted. Like, I thought those had all been tallied, but I just saw on a report like a couple of hours ago that it is still underway. So, and then there was something also in that thing that I was watching where Elon Musk knew the outcome before it had been called by any traditional source, and seemed to be pretty darn sure about it. And he wasn't the only one that was commenting in such a way, and that's kind of slid by. But it makes you wonder, what are they talking about? How did they know that? And those are the kinds of things, not exclusively, but when I say that things are not the way they appear, that is the kind of thing I'm talking about, because something else I think is going on. And the timing of when everybody else gets to know about it, I couldn't tell you. I just know that things come to a head and there's a lot of volatility. And that's going to be that administration. It's going to be volatility city. And that makes me less fearful because, or I'm just not fearful. That is not useful. You can be alerted to certain things, and you can even be concerned about things. But, wait till you have a thing to be concerned about. And I know it's easy to think already, pace yourself. We don't know how long this is going to take. So we do have to kind of, like, gain strength and support from one another. And you see these colors are, I know, like, the rainbow thing drives people nutty, but they're also, before it became that icon for the gay community, they're pleasant colors, okay? They actually have a calming effect on us. Some more so than others, but they all definitely have an effect on us. And you see that these are blending, like different colors blending in different ways, making different combinations together, or different combinations together, making other elements of colors, or yeah, that'll work. And now it's just various threads of us working together. And since the government seems to be trying to be like gentrification in housing and price out the average guy, I've said this for a while. Like, I'm sure we should just still keep doing government stuff, because if we didn't, that would be a problem, and they'd find a way to make it illegal or get you in trouble, because groups can't assemble without having anything they're doing being bad and wrong. Hello, government, big group that totally assembles. Just saying. So, sure, yeah, we just do the things that we're required by that authority to do, but there's a lot of stuff they will not be doing for us, it sounds like, especially with Project 2025, I guess, being the rule of law that they want to put in place. That's going to require us to make a lot of different choices and to be... Sorry about that. Gotta retrieve a card again. Gotta pick up my corn. Oh, come on. So, knowing things like the seeds, the planting of the seeds and the sprouts, what you can do with them. And sprouts, by the way, are very healthy, very helpful, like even more so, I guess, than the actual like fruit that comes along later. Highly nutritive state. We need that. It helps your brain think good, because we're going to be faced with a lot of things, and they may not all be like choices that we can reach into little, again, whatever these receptacles are and grab, but just decisions we'll be faced with, I'm sure, are going to come in an endless flow, and we're going to have to deal with some things before they can be released into our greater consciousness, as a whole. And that can be on the individual level, but that, obviously extends to the greater collective level. So even if you don't mean to, what you do is we're doing it in service of each other. But, the more aware and alert you are to that being the case, I think everyone is better off for you. You make better decisions when you have a clearer idea of what you're faced with. Like, maybe it is, the time for us to stick our hands into every receptacle, regardless, just to have like a better idea of what's facing us, and then forewarned, forearmed, you're better off. And everybody, learning even is subjective, but everyone's going to learn something different, not just from the same thing being studied, but from the different knowledge that they bring to the table. So there can be a lot of blending and a lot of what am I trying to say? Surreptitious good events can come out of things, like good couplings, good blendings, good, combinations of ingredients, succeeding. Language all messed up. So I have 3 more cards, and they're from this Sacred Soul Messages deck, and I can just read them. So yesterday I was watching a video, and they talked about seeing some signs, and one of them was if you were seeing like a lotus flower type shape. And but I hadn't really been paying attention to it because it was before I saw that video, so I didn't really take note of it. This isn't exactly a lotus flower shape, but it is sort of. It's blue around the edges like a lotus flower. But also if you look in there, whoa, this part you can see is the seed of life sort of thing. So more doubling down, a reminder that the seeds that you have planted can come to fruition, but also, we're in a new sort of unknown territory, and we do need to just keep always planting seeds, because you never know what's going to take root. And so someplace that you didn't know could take root that you ignored before can become a place that you can access. So the card reads, excuse me, why be unhappy? Why be unhappy when your soul is in full bloom? You don't need to be all doom and gloom, I think is what this is saying, because there's so much more. You can choose other things than to be doom and gloom. It's called taking your mind off of the thing that's bothering you. The rest of it says, health, spiritual growth, choosing happiness. This kind of speaks for itself, and also reinforces what I said. I could have said it better maybe, but I said it the way I said it. You're welcome. Okay, so this card literally exploded out of my hands, and I was like, I could see it on the floor, but it's kind of dark down there, and I was like, it's either a bouquet of flowers, which I know there is one in this deck, or some kind of fireworks, and it was, which was funny because it was the only one that jumped out the way it did. So it says, more seed talk, and so maybe it is bouquet. What is planted in your soul will sprout. Plant seeds. Dedication, your work is rewarded. Well, if you're dedicated, your work will be rewarded. But thinking of the guy, Jabez, in his gardening and his just really upbeat, great attitude, that man knows how to access abundance, because it's a seed, I guess. Like when you grow your abundance and you're excited about it, and you give it room to grow, and you're just happy about it, and you're not smothering it, his garden explodes, and then he's very free with the proceeds. I mean, he has contests to give the stuff away, and he shows the people coming and getting it, and it kind of reminds me of Just Nate. So you also can plant seeds. Speaking of Jabez and Just Nate, they're both doing something. You don't have to do the same thing, but you could do a different version of the same thing, because like I said, that dude is a whole country away from me. If someone was just a state or two away, they'd be more accessible. Not just to get the proceeds of their garden, but I don't know, just having someone like that closer is always just a good vibe to have around, and you just never know what you might learn. And I don't know, accessibility can really make a difference. So yeah, okay, I think last one. There it is. Excuse me. Look inside yourself. All you want, you already are. Abundance, resources, your wishes granted. So, again, with the guy with the garden, you could use the metaphor on yourself as a garden, and information and knowledge, and whatever kind of learning you get, because everything is not technical. I mean, if it's with an animal, you're the one using spoken words, but with them, they communicate with you generally without words. I mean, there's a lot of cat videos where they're like just talking, and also dogs too, and various other creatures can seriously respond. Like, even if it's a what are those little guys? Groundhogs. I think all they say is "Yahoo!" But maybe they're like, "I am Groot." So, I mean, I feel like this whole thing has just been an affirmation of what I was saying, but you look inside yourself, you can find everything you need free, in the same way that outside of ourselves, this guy Jabez has found ways to make what's there even more abundant. Like, and that's kind of like what we do as like beings, period, created by the creator. We fractal. We are seeds that grow and regrow from ourselves. Hello, that is our offspring. Everything is everything, just slightly different. It's all the same. Chew on them seed kernels. Thank you and good night.